We had a fantastic discussion just at lunchtime, and I'm going to talk to you about a paradigm called Open Innovation 2.0, and what Ian and his colleagues have achieved in Salford, and theming the whole city as around media, I think is a really brilliant example actually of Open Innovation 2.0. And in fact, Open Innovation 2.0, we revealed this paradigm actually in this very hall during the Irish presidency, in collaboration between the Commission and Dublin City. We held a 2-day working conference. It was opened by President Barroso. We had 3 commissioners. We had lots of chief technology officers from leading companies around the world, leading academics, leading people involved in policy. And for 2 days, we actually worked using principles of Open Innovation 2.0 and came up with something called the Dublin Innovation Declaration, which were 10 action items associated with growing and moving Europe forward, and I'll come back to that at the end of my talk. Open innovation is a concept that was described by Henry Chesbrough in a really excellent book in 2003, and it's based on the simple premise that not all of the smart people in the world can work for your company, and you need to look outside for new ideas. And Procter & Gamble, led by their CEO A.G. Lafley, he was the first to really, probably a textbook example of using it. And today, more than 50% of new Procter & Gamble products, actually, the ideas originate from outside the company. But the ball has moved on from there, or the puck. And today, we're seeing this new paradigm called Open Innovation 2.0. And the unit of competition has moved. It's no longer how good your company is, it's how good the ecosystem that you're in. So you only have to look at the mobile phone business. It's Apple versus Android and versus Nokia and Microsoft and others. And cities are a very natural place for this Open Innovation 2.0 paradigm to take root and actually drive tremendous value, both in terms of commercial value, but probably as important, if not more important, improving the quality of life and generic social value. If the 19th century was the century, several people may have already referred to this, was the century of empires, and the last century was the century of nation states, this is probably going to be the century of cities. Cities are responsible for about 80% of global GDP. 100 years ago, just 10% of the global population lived in cities. By 2050, we'll have 70% of the world's population living in cities. We know cities are inherently dirty, they're congested, but actually if you look at overall resource efficiency, they're actually incredibly efficient, and it's a great opportunity because we currently have a challenge according to the global footprint. If we currently consume the current resources that we have and at very modest growth rates, we'll need 2 Earths worth of resources by 2050 to maintain the current standard of living that we're used to in the West. And that's not counting the enormous amount of people that actually want to join that system. But there's also a huge market opportunity. Depending on the UK Technology Strategy Board, they estimate the market for urban and intelligent systems about £300 billion by 2020. According to Arup, actually the figure is about $450 billion by 2020. Now, this phenomenon of Open Innovation 2.0, we have been studying it at the EU Open Innovation Strategy Policy Group for about 4 or 5 years, and each year, if you're interested, I can certainly point you to these reports. We've been doing quite detailed studies around what's going on with innovation. I think we're now at the point to say that something different is happening, and at the Open Innovation 2.0 conference, and in your conference packs, we have a paper that actually shares some of these insights or snapshots that we've seen. At the very core of it is the idea of shared value and shared vision. Michael Porter, Harvard Business School professor, has been writing about this. And the idea of shared value is very simple, that we can reconceive the intersection between corporate performance and society, that we can solve big problems and be profitable at the same time. And C.K. Prahalad, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago, he wrote a book called The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, how many of the problems in the third world could be solved and profit could be made at the same time. I think what we've been doing with Dublin and Peter Finnegan, with Nisha Murray, the ex-Lord Mayor, and continuing with the new Lord Mayor Rushing Quinn, is actually creating a shared vision of what the future of Dublin might be. Related to that is the idea of quadruple helix innovation. I think unwittingly, Ian, you are practicing this in Salford, and quadruple helix innovation is the idea that government, city, citizens, industry and academia, if we work together, we can drive structural changes far beyond the scope of what we could do on our own. And at the core of that is articulating and creating a joint vision and articulating the shared value. So we're doing this, of course, with Dublin, and we already have some nice opportunity or examples where we've been able to create value for Dublin, for the citizens, and indeed for Intel. Other ideas, I know Kate talked about the power of young people, and I love the quote from John Cage, composer. He said, I can't understand why people are scared of new ideas. I'm scared of the old ones. And if you look back at the carnage that we've had, actually social carnage and financial carnage, a lot of them are rooted sort of in old ideas that should have been long ago displaced. Other ideas at the core of this Open Innovation 2.0 is the idea of user-centered innovation. So instead of the user being a research object, they've changed to becoming a research participant. And in fact, now, very often they're the driver, actually, of the innovation process. So if you think of Apple, they've the largest market cap. Why are they there? Of course, they have great aesthetics, they have great functionality, but they have the biggest development community in the world. There are almost 1 billion apps that are available on the App Store and 50 billion downloads. It's the power of the community that they've harnessed to drive their business forward. Companies like Lego have children all around the world developing their next products for them. The children have to work hard, they have to be creative, they create a new design, then they have to get, using social media, 10,000 children around the world to like their design, and then Lego will consider making it. And then if they make the product, the children share in the value. But the key opportunity, of course, in cities is to harness the community. And what we've been doing with Dublin City, we have a couple of very good examples. We have an application called City Watch. We currently have it in pilot, where citizens are actively contributing knowledge and actually reacting in real time. So we have a combination of collective intelligence and collaborative intelligence. The collective intelligence is happening on an ongoing basis. But when we have an emergency to respond to, like pluvial flooding, we can actually set up a real-time interaction between citizens who are reporting in real time from their phones, but their phones may be reporting conditions that they can sense. Many of the new smartphones will actually come with sensor hubs. But the nice thing about this application is actually it was co-designed with the users. It was jointly developed between Intel, Dublin, and Trinity College. But we met with citizens, with business people, and we figured out actually if we were to design an application for Dublin, what might it do, what might be the usage models. Very interesting, we have a trial currently in place, Ian and Nigel, and just about 100 users, but more than 50% of users are using this on a daily basis, and we built in gamification and incentivization. That's a very good, I think, indicator that this will be a successful application. We've also worked with the Innovation Value Institute and at the National University of Ireland in Maynooth, and we have built what's called a capability maturity framework for digital cities. And again, we involved citizens. In as regular citizens, we also involved business people. And we had a workshop which the Lord Mayor kicked off where we were actually able to score Dublin's digital maturity. And today it's about a 2.3 maturity on a scale of 1 to 5. This is a very interesting model. In our work with London are very interested in adopting this model. I was in Nice yesterday. The City of Nice wants to use it. But also the European Commission. The European Commission are going to spend about 70 billion euros in the Horizon 2020 programme over the next 7 years. Thankfully, the emphasis of European funding has shifted from basic research. It's now much more in applied research. And we're working with the European Commission. I'm quite hopeful they'll adopt the capability maturity framework that was developed here in Dublin with the city and with the citizens as a research framework. So how can we all move together to advance cities? Kingsley mentioned, of course, the idea of crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. I love the idea of linked finance. It's a great idea, and Kickstarter, of course, is the big brother, and that's hugely successful. So there's lots more in the whole idea of Open Innovation 2.0. But I think moving forward, the power of citizens and getting them involved in moving a city forward is something that can be really harnessed. Probably the last thing to say about Open Innovation 2.0, it's a lot about co-creation. So our job at Intel, working with the city, is to create an innovation platform and then just let sort of emergence happen and spontaneity. And it's amazing today, City Watch, which we've deployed an ambient intelligence platform in Dublin. It's mounted on traffic lights. It's sensing all sorts of things in terms of wind conditions and humidity and air quality, etc. But today, most of the data that's coming into CityWatch is actually coming from citizens or things that, a weather station in somebody's garden, and it's a very good example of this spontaneous collective intelligence happening. And we were talking, at lunchtime with Ian, and sometimes you don't exactly know what's going to happen, but if you create this platform for emergence, wonderful things will happen. I want to close with a couple of other things. If open innovation is to be successful, what's most important is openness to innovation from the city, to the academics, and very often the academics are the people that are most entrenched. And we hear a lot about academic freedom. We don't hear so much about academic accountability. But we had a really nice study with the Dubliners, ordinary Dubliners, during the Open Innovation 2.0 conference, and I'll finish with a video. We had about 2,000 Dubliners come through an exhibition. The Lord Mayor kindly opened up the Mansion House, and we created a future showcase. What might future cities look like? One example, Lego shipped in a couple of big crates of Legos, and we had school children actually build what they thought a future city might look like, and that was really interesting. In fact, it was such a good idea that Lego have actually taken it, and now they're putting a permanent place to do this in Denmark. But when the Dubliners were leading, and this was a mixture of school children to senior citizens, we asked them two simple questions. The first was, do you think Dublin should be used as an experimental test bed? And then we said, if so, would you like to be part of the experiment? Now, can anybody guess how many Dubliners said yes to both those questions? And I'll just caution you, typically if you look at innovation diffusion theory, normally 10 to 12% of a population will respond yes to those questions. They'll be early adopters or early innovators. So how many people in Dublin said yes as a percentage? Anybody guess? Ian, what would you think?
50%.
50, that's not bad. Well, 92.6% of Dubliners said yes to those questions.
Typical politician hedging bet.
But I think that's a beautiful indicator that something has changed, that people are now willing actually to very much instead of being scared of the new ideas, they very much want to engage and co-participate in creating the future. One very nice story in terms of actually building ecosystems in the city. We held a European Research and Innovation Conference in Nice for the last couple of days. And I was able to talk about a solution that we co-developed here in Ireland. It's actually co-developed between Belfast and Dublin. We've deployed it in Roebuck Downs. It's a solution called NLive. And essentially it looks in your home and it tries to give you energy savings through using energy more efficient. And we've been introducing some electric vehicles with the ESB. We had some fantastic results by using some smart charging. The individual consumer in your home, your electricity costs are reduced by 44.5% on average. Now, consumer studies show if you want to switch services, you need to at least get a 10 or 12% saving. But if you as a user are presented with a 44.5% saving, I don't think you have to think about this. We showed this in Nice. We had the Christian Turdo, who's the deputy mayor, who's the former CEO of Texas Instruments, and the innovation director, Christophe Ducal. And the deal was done within 10 minutes. They saw the data, and we're now planning a deployment of this platform that was co-developed in Dublin, will be deployed in Nice in Q1 of next year. I think it's a really good example of this co-creation at work. So I've probably run on too long, but in the spirit of a picture tells 1,000 words, we're just going to run a short video that talks about the Open Innovation 2.0 conference and some of the ideas. I don't think it's quite as inspirational or as well produced as the video that Kate showed, but hopefully you'll enjoy it too, and thanks for your attention.